All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third and final segment of Ask the King for, I almost said Sunday, for Thursday, April 26, 2018. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show so far. If you haven't seen the show and you're only watching part 3 first, I recommend you watch parts 1 and 2 first. Here, they're already live on YouTube. If you're watching live on stream, well, welcome back from the commercial break. Almost done. What we got to do, we got a few more Twitter questions to answer, and then I'm going to open it up to people who cheer, sub, and tip with priority, but also people will be able to submit their questions via stream chat, and I'll be pulling some questions out of stream chat to finish off the show. This will probably be a shorter segment than the other two, just for clarity's sake, okay? All right, here we go, guys. So the next question from Twitter is from Josh, and he says, as a former competitive gamer, what were your best attributes? What do you think you could have improved during your time in your Street Fighter days? I would say some of my best attributes. Number one, I'm very adaptable. And what I mean by that is I could go to a video game tournament, and after just playing for a few hours or playing against a variety of people or watching people play, I could absorb. I was like a sponge. I could easily absorb knowledge and data about a game just by being there in person and seeing other people do stuff. So there were some tournaments where I would go, and within the first day when I saw people playing, I was like, man, I never seen that strategy with that character before. And I would immediately, through practice for a day or two before the tournament started, try to find a way around it, and then, wow, I could counter it during the tournament, okay? So adaptability and being able to learn on the fly is key. But one of the biggest major things that I feel was my best attribute during my competitive Street Fighter days was that I was not, what's the word? I was not intimidated by anyone. And what I mean by that is I didn't care if you were a known tournament champion, an OG of the Street Fighter community, a top player, or if you were just someone who's a common gamer just coming in and trying to play for the first time in a tournament. No one rattled me. Because some people were like, man, when I go to play Justin Wong, or I go to play Alex Valle, or I go to play some of these known players, I get the jitters, I get nervous, and I don't play my best game because I know this is a great player and he's going to probably counter what I'm doing. Never did I let that get to me. In fact, I would actually use that as motivation and say, you know what? I don't get to play as much as these guys. Because it's true. Out of my entire career, it wasn't really a career, but out of the entire time that I played games at a high level like that, never was I able to significantly play as much as these other guys. I knew for a fact these guys would fly around the country, play in every tournament. They had local arcades that they could go and play against the top competition. I didn't have a lot of that. For me, it was like on the weekends, I get to play 1 or 2 sessions of gameplay with my friends. Every once in a while, I travel to a major tournament, and that's when I actually get to play against actual competition. For me, I was like the least played guy who got to actually play at a high level and still win anyway. So for me, I use that as motivation. I was like, I think naturally, when it comes to fighting games, I have a more innate ability to adapt on the fly, to learn, and to become better just with the little limited time that I have. Those guys got good because they played the living fuck out of the games. I got good because of natural talent and adaptability and the able to read and learn really quickly. Okay? So when I would go, oh, I'm playing Justin Wong in this game, big deal. Okay. Boom, next thing you know, I beat Justin Wong in the tournament. And it's like, holy shit, Phil just beat Justin Wong in this Super Turbo tournament, and everyone else loses to Justin's Old Sagat, because that was his character. He always picked Old Sagat, okay? And quite frankly, Old Sagat is really good in Super Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but certainly there's ways around him to beat him. He's just a very solid character. He's one of the easiest characters in the game to play, all right? So I would just play my game, remain calm, and boom, hit him with turn punches and, you know, trades and good moves with Balrog and bully right through Justin Wong. And people would be like, what the fuck? Phil beat Justin Wong. How is that possible? Like, dude, I know I don't get practice. I don't get to play against a lot of people, but I know my game and I don't get rattled when I play people, you know? And that was one of my major assets over the years. And it doesn't always work. Just because you're confident and you're not rattled by a top player doesn't mean that player won't outplay you. Perfect example. I had to play Tokido in Super Street Fighter 2 our Anniversary Edition, which was a game that had different versions of the characters from the 5 different versions of Street Fighter 2 that came out. And I was really good with Champion Edition M. Bison. He also played Champion Edition M. Bison, and we had a mirror match. And sadly, he had a little bit more knowledge about the character than I did, and I blew it, and I lost. And that frustrated me because I wasn't rattled by playing a top Japanese player. It was just that he had a little bit more knowledge than me, probably because he plays the living shit out of the game when I didn't have a chance to do that. So it annoyed me in that regard. But having that confidence and having that never being rattled by a top player, doesn't matter who you play, you just play your game attitude, allowed me to do it and be as successful as I was over the years in Street Fighter. There you go. Okay, I got a bunch of shout-outs to do here. Holy crap. Shout out to Kate, who did 100-bit cheers, and I'm just happy I can help you with these bits. Thank you, Kate. Social and National cheers. Remember how insane King of Fighters bosses were? I could never beat them. Some of them were ridiculous. The AI was incredibly cheap. It would wait for you to do an attack that it knew you couldn't recover from and then do a 50% damage counter move. Ridiculous. But yeah, King of Fighters bosses were some bullshit back in the day. Eternal Napalm cheered 50 bits. Says, I agree with Kate. Enjoy these bits. You are the best streamer on Twitch. And Chimpin' Ain't Easy, which I believe is trying to be racist, but I don't know. To the 50-bit cheers, have you thought about doing an IRL stream where you visit the stores you frequent? No, and I never will. So there you go. All right. Next question from Twitter. Hold on a second here. Okay. The next question is from Clinton Halberg and asks, will you and your girlfriend be doing games together on Twitch? I mean, let me put it this way. Is it completely against anything? Like, are we never ever going to do it as a principle? No, that's not the case. But if and when we do it, we want it to be special. We want it to be a game that both of us are looking forward to and want to play and want to do co-op in. And we want it to be viable. Like, right now, we wouldn't be able to do it. Because most of the time when I'm streaming, she's at work too. Very rarely, usually only the nighttime streams is she even at home when I'm live streaming. So it wouldn't even be viable for us to do co-op right now. Eventually, if we have a major game we want to do it in, yes, then we will do it. But it hasn't come up, and it's not something that's a concern of ours right now. It's not a big deal. My streaming and my work is completely separate from my personal life right now. There you go. Shout out to Jake. Wait, shout out to Jake. Question is from Jake on Twitter. He says, do you see much worth in having an Xbox One anymore? I don't own one, and I've always considered it, but now there's so few upcoming exclusive titles that it doesn't seem worth getting one. Well, let me put it this way. I don't believe that the Xbox One is any more or less powerful or better or worse than the PS4. It really comes down to controller selection, the online experience, and the exclusive titles. You're absolutely right in saying, holy crap, if you actually look at the PS4 exclusive titles versus the Xbox One exclusive titles, boy, is there a disparity. Just at the top of my head, just Bloodborne and God of War alone are 2 reasons to own a PS4. I couldn't tell you, like, a must-buy game for Xbox One. I'm sorry. I can't even think of one single game that was an Xbox One Microsoft exclusive you need to buy an Xbox One to play. I'm just saying, all right? What I will say is this. Xbox One backwards compatibility recently has been a really nice thing. So, for example, if you were a huge fan of the Xbox 360 and you digitally own a bunch of games or you saved the game discs from the Xbox 360, now a lot of those games are fully compatible on Xbox One with sometimes even slightly improved graphics. So in that regard, okay, that make more sense. Okay, if I want a console that not only can I play the current generation of games, but also all my last generation of games all on one console, I think the Xbox One is your console right now. You can't do that with the PS4 currently, okay? But that being said, yeah, honestly, I don't know, quite frankly, if there is there a reason definitively I must buy an Xbox One? And it's funny because a lot of people last year, I knew this would happen and I said it would happen. They ran out and they bought the Xbox One X. Oh, it's the top console, right? It's the best graphics available on a console, home console. And we got to get the Xbox One X, the best console that's available. And that's how they advertised it on TV. A ton of people ran out and bought it and they don't play any games on it because there's no good Microsoft exclusives. And a lot of the games that are cross-platform really don't look any better on the Xbox One X. It's bullshit. It's bullshit marketing. It's a console that's not being utilized because game developers don't want to do double the work to develop the standard version for people who own the regular console and a slightly upscaled better version for the console that has, you know, a little bit more processing power. They don't want to deal with that shit. You know, they don't. Why? Do they really see a significant market for selling more games on the Xbox One X? No, they don't. So they're not going to put the extra time and effort into making it better. So, there you go. Is there really a definitive reason to buy the Xbox One? I would say if you're choosing between the Xbox One, the PS4, or a gaming PC, what you really need to look at is say, why am I buying this console? Am I buying it to play all the hot new releases? Then you either got to go with PC or PS4 because they usually have more exclusives. Are you going for the best console experience overall? That's debatable. Are you going for the most backwards compatibility? with console games, that's definitely the Xbox One. Okay, there's pros and cons for every single thing, but if you're just talking purely on game experiences and exclusives, PS4, definitely. There you go. All right, the final Twitter question. Then we're gonna do some shout outs, and then I'm gonna get to stream questions. Yak Almighty asks, would you be interested in doing a documentary based on how much hate you get for being, excuse me, I gotta read this again. Would you be interested in being in a documentary based on how much hate that you get just for playing video games online? The only way that I'd be interested if there was actually a documentarian who were interested in giving me a fair shake and actually getting my actual perspective and situation from my side. Because there's too many people out there, well, we're going to talk about Dark Side Phil, but let's do a video based off of all the negative shit about it. What about this side of the fence? What about, you know, actually getting my side of the story, actually knowing what it's like to be here on a daily basis and do what I do and see the negativity from my eyes that I get every day on stream, you know, every day on Twitter, all the nasty shit that gets thrown my way. And why don't we get to see that from my perspective? And then you'd actually see, you know, if someone just literally sat here and saw what I did for a day, they'd probably be like, damn, you know, that's crazy different from, you know, all the crazy conspiracy theories and shit that we hear behind the scenes, you know. So there you go. It is what it is. But I would, you know, if anyone were interested in doing that and actually getting interviews with me, sitting with me for an extended period of time and get my whole perspective on the background of Dark Side Phil and how it came about and the things that I used to do and how things were different back then and how they are now and all the negative shit. If they actually wanted to go through a history timeline of this video came out, and how did this affect you in this, you know, absolutely that would be something I'd be interested in. The problem is I don't get that. What I get is, oh, Phil, can you answer me these questions for me? All right, let me take a look. And I look and I start answering them. Next thing you know, they answer more questions. And all the questions are skewed towards detractor shit from over the years that make me look bad. I'm like, why am I going to answer these questions? What you're basically doing is asking me negative shit that's not true or shit that was, you know, twisted in a way that's not true at all. If you would actually walk in my shoes and listen to the things I said over the years, you wouldn't even have to ask me these questions. So you're not even serious. You're just trying to do another negative video about me, you know? And that's happened to me a few times, sadly, over the years. Someone who seems like they're legitimate and wants to actually get my perspective is really just trying to twist my words into something new and something negative again. And it sucks. But, I mean, hell, a documentary based off of me and my life in the past 10 years could be quite an interesting spin. Let's put it that way. Quite an interesting journey. Okay. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to shout-outs and before we get to stream chat questions, special shout-outs to the following patrons from the past 2 months who helped directly support my efforts to keep doing this full-time. All right? So, shout-out to Orlando Del Valle, Tom Dooley, Peanut Brother, Ms. Monique Villix, Abdulrahman Althani, Fallen 1570, Big Toe 995, Infinite 55, Casey Wood, Brightside Viking, Planet Jeff, Colton Bray, Thomas McDonald, Sean Given, Mike Hunt 2018, Last Rambo 341, Jamie Ford, QPZMWN, Mayor Maracho, Deep Drive, Colton Hotchkiss, Jordan J, Ralik, Stormforce Gamer, Atlas Telemon, Richie 7, Byron Ripple, Show Creos, sorry if I completely destroyed your name, Bobby Portlock, Michael Denalt, Louis Eva, Christine Gebhardt, Proto, Hank Duma, and Courtney James Kostelik, and last but not least, M. Thank you guys for your ongoing support. I definitely appreciate that. I do. All right. Okay. Now time for shout-outs, and then we'll get to some other stuff. Here we go. So let's go all the way down here. Wow. Asuka's firm breasts. Sometimes I wonder how some names get past the Twitch filters and stuff. But anyway, they cheered and said, what was your favorite wrestling game? Shit. See, the thing is, back in the day, I didn't play a lot of wrestling games. A lot of people during that, like, 90s era played all these games on consoles that they're so they loved, right? Like, oh, what was that game that everyone says is the best one on, like, N64 or something? I never played them. For me, back in the day, I played the SmackDown games and the SmackDown versus Raw games until finally they just became the WWE yearly games. I don't know if I ever had a favorite one, but I can tell you I had a lot of fun back in the day playing like the SmackDown and SmackDown versus Raw games where you could do like 8 players, and I would have my friends come over and actually bought the like 8-player adapter for PS2, and we would all be playing, controlling crazy characters and fighting each other in Royal Rumbles and doing zany stuff. It was pretty fun because what we would do sometimes, even when there's a wrestling pay-per-view, we would watch the pay-per-view and then afterwards have a few beers and play those games and do fun stuff. So there you go. Here we go. Mike Lee did a 25-bit cheer and says, I have an unnatural hatred for Street Fighter V and is still going on about this stuff. Mike Lee just doesn't understand. He loves to beat dead horses. Like, every cheer he does, every question he asks me is something that I've already elaborated on a million times. I keep saying I don't want to talk about it anymore, and he just keeps bringing it up. Let's see here. He says, what are your ideas for the ideal Street Fighter game? Characters, stages, story, game mechanics, music. How would you support the fighting game community with tournaments, since they're hard at keeping these games around long term while expanding the game for newer players? Here's the thing. I really do feel that, sadly, fighting games have become far too watered down. They've become far too much of about how do we recruit the maximum number of people to play our game, rather than how do we make a good game that's at a competitive level, a game that will have longevity. And that's, in my immediate opinion, that's where Street Fighter V failed. What Street Fighter V wanted to do is, day one, they wanted to get people involved who were going to be streaming the game constantly, playing the game online constantly. The game was made to be set up for competitive level constantly, and they completely ignored people who just want to buy the game to play through the story or play single player or play with their friends. Instead, they designed a game that was going to be, it's only really set up to be for competitive play, period. And what they did is they missed out on a large group of players there. But at the same time, when they released their game, the gameplay was so dumbed down. It was giant input lag, no reactionary gameplay whatsoever, almost no footsies. It was just based this off of a pattern-style gameplay that a 5-year-old could learn after playing this game for like 2 hours. And that was the problem with Street Fighter V. It was too simple. It was too delayed. It didn't have a high execution skill level. It was too easy, and it didn't have the things like footsies and reactionary gameplay that make a fighting game a competitive game at a high level. And that's why I feel at launch the game sucked. Okay, now the game might have changed over time, but I don't really care about that, and I'm not going to harp on Street Fighter V. A fighting game, for it to be good, all right, and competitive and have longevity, has to have a wide cast of characters that have a variety of styles of gameplay. Not everyone is the same kind of character who has a pattern that you just learn and you're done with the game, okay? It has to lend itself to strategies where you can have good execution, good reactions, and that leads to success. There has to be risk reward. Not everything in the game is safe, because that's a lot of problems with a lot of modern games too. Everything is fucking safe, so it's more about who makes the mistake first versus who actually has something that's they took a chance and now you can punish it, or you can counter through something they're doing. Instead, it's I screwed up my combo, now you counter and you win the match, right? That's terrible too. Games shouldn't be like that. I'm not going to sit here and go into a half-hour diatribe on how to make a good fighting game, because I could, but I don't work for Capcom, all right? And that's the bottom line, is Capcom works for Capcom. They should know what the fuck they're doing. But there are many ways, many ways that modern fighting games could become much better at a competitive level, but sadly, then those games may not appeal to the masses anymore. Oh no, not every kid can pick up the game and within a week learn every high-level strategy and become a streaming monster on the game or whatever. Oh well. And that's kind of where it has to be. Back in the day, when fighting games were at a high-level competitive play, there was no online play. There were no videos online. You had to work your ass off at arcades and tournaments to learn high-level strategies. You had to have great hand-eye coordination. You had to have immense knowledge of every character of the game. You had to understand footsies and counters and so many complex things that those games were very difficult to learn and play at a high level. That's why in modern era games, a lot of people who now play the modern era fighters never played the classics, and they don't go back and play them because they're too hard for them, which is ridiculous, because in reality, a game like Street Fighter 2, I actually think is easy to learn if you learn the core fundamentals of fighters. The problem is a lot of people who play modern fighters don't even know the core fundamentals, because they just did the abusable stuff and learned the easy way to win, rather than learning the core fundamentals of what you need to be good at a fighting game. But again, Mike Lee, I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm not going to spend an hour on this question. I don't work for Capcom. The bottom line is Capcom needs to go back to their roots and put out games that are more about the core gameplay being good. Because if you get a game with a variety of characters, lots of core gameplay fundamentals that could be played at a high level, you'll inspire people to keep playing that game at a high level versus, oh, the game's flashy and looks good on stream, or, oh, the game's easy to learn, so within a week I can know everything and every character, you know. That's not good anymore. You know, we've been there and done that. We've dumbed the games down to the point where they're garbage, and we need to get them back up to a point where they actually have some kind of a skill cap again. Because at this point, I mean, I have zero interest in some of these games that come out because I'm like, this game sucks. You know, Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, both the same situation. The game was just terrible, and it's like, why the fuck do I want to play this more than a week? Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I was top 100 in the world. I was that good at the game, and I hated it, and I stopped playing it because it was terrible. Anyway, shout out to Ross Prey, or Ross Pre, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, did a 500-bit cheers and asked, have you ever suffered from depression? If so, how did you deal with it? Thanks for the great stream. Yes, I mean, I have had depression in the past, and depression never goes away, so I can tell you I have depression still. Now, the good news is, I found ways to cope with it. I found positive things to do to distract myself from the depression, so I don't let it overwhelm me and overcome me and become the end-all and be-all of what I am as a person. Although, I'll be honest, there's days when it's tough. On a day when, you know, I work my ass off and people don't show up for a stream, I get depressed. And it sucks, but it is what it is. You know, that's life, is that not every day is going to be an outstanding day, but that shit happens. But it does. It makes me sad, or it makes me depressed that, you know, man, people really just didn't care about what I did today. You know, it makes you worry about your worth, about your longevity as being a streamer or being a YouTuber. Days when I go online and I see nothing but negative shit all over the internet about me. Phil did this horrible thing, and I look at him like, I didn't even really do that. But now everyone on the internet, once again, thinks I'm an asshole and I'm a shithead and hates my guts. I see that stuff, and it does, you know, it comes back. You know, there's things that creep up from time to time from my past that make me sad. You know, things that I wish would have gone differently or better that could creep up and make me depressed. But for me, the thing is, I realize life isn't perfect. I don't think I'm ever going to be in a situation where things are always, you know, hunky-dory, 100% great. And what you need to learn to do is cope with it. Don't let that depression become an overwhelming force in your life. Don't let it make you do decisions of things you normally wouldn't do. Don't let it drag you down and maybe you become so inside of yourself with worry or doubt or sadness that now it changes yourself and your personality and the way that you act. Don't let it become self-destructive. That's a huge thing about depression. You feel so bad about yourself or a situation that you now make it worse because you become more self-destructive than anything else, right? That's all stuff that, you know, I've tried to get away from in the past several, I'd say probably 5-6 years. I've probably really tried to steer my way out of line of those lines of things that can happen. And it's hard. It's hard. It's real hard, especially for me. Again, someone who constantly, I'm being, you know, pounded with negativity. Phil did something wrong. Phil's this, Phil's that, Phil's this, Phil's that. And all I want to do is every day come to stream, play a video game, have fun, and share that with you guys. That's it. That's all I'm about. I don't care about being a political stances. I don't say a lot of controversial shit, but people will find anything possible to twist and make me sound like a villain or piss someone off and turn them against me or whatever. And that does, in a lot of extent, it's hard to keep coming back. 10 years. And out of those 10 years, probably I'd say about 6 straight years where people have been shitty to me in general. It's tough. But, you know, there's a lot of positives to what I do too. And I try to focus on the positives. Another thing, if you have depression, you can't just dwell on the things that are bad and make you depressed. You have to immerse yourself in things that make you positive. Having hobbies that keep you happy. Having people in your life that are good to you and keep you happy. These are all very important things. Last year was a real tough year for me because I was single for the first time in a long time for a while and I had no one to talk to. And then finally Kat came into my life and changed things and turned things around for me in a big way. So those are some of the important things that I think I could give you as positive advice, and hopefully it helps you out. There you go. Okay. Shout out to Big Tone, who did a $5 tip, and he says, hey, Phil, I couldn't think of any questions that you haven't answered already in time to use for my Patreon perk, but I thought about one when I was at work. Do you ever think about trying to do a more frequent podcast talking about streaming and the like? Well, the thing is, I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy podcasting, all that kind of stuff. The problem is, honestly, you know, with the changes to YouTube and everything, that really doesn't do anything for me when it comes to keeping me afloat. For me, the way that I can pay the bills and keep stuff going is to stream gameplay constantly. And that's real talk. You know, there's things like DSP Tries It. There's things like Ask the King. There's things like the Hate Life podcast. And these are now fan service. This video series I'm making right now for YouTube will make me almost no money, and I just do it for fan service because I've done this show for so long that I want to keep it going for the fans. But I know it sucks that times change, Now, when you say in particular a podcast about talking about streaming and the like, I don't know what you mean. You mean like the actual activity of streaming and how it works and stuff like that? Like a behind the scenes kind of podcast? I mean, I don't know if I've ever really done anything like that. I don't know if people would like that. I don't know what kind of things, the topics you guys would like to hear me discuss. All right. So, that being said, I mean, if people were more interested in podcasts and more behind the scenes stuff, I would consider doing it. But again, it would have to be something that I can fit in, along with a lot of other stuff that I do. I have to keep the streams going. I can't have it be something that takes away from what I'm already doing. All right. So there you go. Renaissance Elite version. I have no idea. I hope I read your name right. Tip me $2 and ask, would you be willing to do said interview? I don't know what he's talking about. Without name, or to offer you money. Cause if you have to have those things, doesn't that show you don't really care to have the truth out there? So I'm going to read this again and see if I can understand it. Would you be willing to do said interview without name, or to offer you money? Cause if you have to have those things, doesn't that show you don't really care to have the truth out there? First of all, I have no idea what you're asking. It sounds to me like you're saying, would you do an interview without money? I have never once in my entire life charged for an interview. Ever. Not once. I think, again, that's a detractor meme or a detractor belief, is that Phil said he'll only do an interview for big money or something. Not once has that ever happened. At all. So I don't know what you're talking about there. It sounds to me like you have misinformation. I sent the stream chat, your side of the truth with the interview. Wait a minute, now it scrolled off the screen. God damn it. Your side of the truth with the interview you was talking about 5 minutes ago. What? I still don't... Can you ask the question one more time in stream chat the way you want it to be said? Because I still have no idea what you're asking me. The only part I could get... Oh, hold on. He says, someone else, Genevelin, says what he's trying to say. He wants you to do it anonymously and for free. What? How would I contribute anonymously? What? Oh my God. I don't understand what people are saying anymore. I'm going to relax for a second here. Hold on, everybody. Let's try this again. So, okay. And would I do an interview with an anonymous interviewer for free? First of all, anyone who I've done an interview for or whatever, I don't know these people. You know what I mean? Like as I've told you guys many times, I don't watch other people's videos on a regular basis. I don't watch other streamers' stuff. I don't know a lot of other YouTubers. I don't know other documentarians. So the few people over the years who've asked me to answer questions for an interview, I didn't know who they were to begin with. Okay? So in that regard, it really is like anonymous. It's not like, oh, I knew that it was this person who is a detractor asked me questions. It's not like that. Like a lot of the times the people who've asked me questions, I don't know who the hell they are to begin with. It's just sad that a couple of times I have gone out of my way to, yes, for free, answer questions. And those people then turned it into a spin of, ask me about this detractor meme. Ask me about this. Why did you do this horrible thing? And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. I didn't do that. None of these are true. It's obvious you just watched a bunch of detractor videos and now you want to attack me with these questions rather than actually asking me for my perspective of things that's happened over the years. So no, I don't want to go forward with this. But I've never asked for payment ever to answer anyone's questions for an interview. And I've never really known anyone who's asked me the questions to begin with. So I have no idea what you're getting at. There you go. Kate cheered and said, when do you think The Last of Us 2 will come out, and do you think people will get tired of movie-style games? I predict either 2019 or 2020 for Last of Us 2. When you say movie-style games, I'm assuming you mean games like Telltale games that are that are interactive narratives rather than actual core gameplay. I don't know. The thing is that a good narrative is an integral part of a great AAA game, in my opinion. I think that when you get games which just based off of repetitive grinding gameplay, those games aren't very good. I'm sorry. I'm not the kind of person that usually gets hooked on that kind of game, and I don't think it's worth $60. If you're going to sell me a game that's just repetitive grinding gameplay that's only fun because I'm playing with friends, that's a $30 purchase for me, not a $60. You know, a game with a great narrative that I walk out of there feeling like I experienced a unique, fun story, and it's something that I can remember. That's something that's worth $60 to me. But I don't think people are going to get tired of that. I think that there's, like I said, there's a market for many different kinds of games. Okay, so some games are going to be popular sometimes, some games aren't. But no, I don't think people are just going to, in general, get tired of a good game with a good narrative. Social and National cheered and asked, what kind of mobile games do I play? I only play 2 mobile games anymore. They are Marvel Future Fight and WWE Champions. Marvel Future Fight is a really good game in my opinion. Tons of content, ridiculous amount of characters. It's a gameplay style very similar to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, which for those of you who are gamers from the past 10 years, you'll recognize that name because there's some pretty good games back on the Xbox 360 and PS3. But outside of that, WWE Champions is a game that plays a lot like Candy Crush, of all games. Or what's the other one? Bejeweled. It plays like those 2 games with wrestlers. And honestly, the game cheats and is not very good. But I just play it because it has wrestlers in it. There you go. Spawn Killer tipped me $1 and asks, Phil, have you thought about finishing playing Splinter Cell Conviction? No. Splinter Cell Conviction is a game from 2010 that I stopped playing because I got false copyright strikes against my channel. And I basically stopped putting out videos on Dark Side Phil during that time because the channel got shut down unjustly. Then later on it was determined it was false copyright strikes and the channel was restored, but I had already started DSP Gaming. I don't think anyone wants to see Splinter Cell Conviction, so I'm never going to go back to it. There you go. Okay. Alright guys, last chance for any questions because the show's about to end. So your very last chance to get a question in, then we will conclude here. And yes, I stopped playing the Dragon Ball mobile game several months ago. Too much of a money sink, too much of a time investment. Stopped playing it. I will take this opportunity to say thanks everyone for your cheer subs and tips during the stream. Pretty decent for Ask the King. I appreciate that very much. Yes, I did get your email, I am Mirza. I did read it and I filed it. I saved it. Right now, I don't really have a chance to respond or action on it, but thank you for the input. Let's see. Mighty Onyx. Well, first of all, good to see you, Onyx. I haven't seen you on a stream in a long time. Says, what do I think about countries banning loot boxes? Yeah, it just became official in Belgium, and I believe in New Zealand. I take it back. I don't know if it's New Zealand or the Netherlands. 2 countries have banned loot boxes completely and said that if companies do not remove loot boxes from their games that they're selling in the countries, they are going to be legally liable for like $20,000 fines and 5 years in jail. What people think is going to happen more than likely is games like Overwatch and other games that have loot boxes are just going to pull their games from those countries and never sell them there again. I think that loot boxes, sadly, are a very addictive practice. They're a very underhanded practice, and yes, they are meant to become a recurring money sink for a gamer who basically doesn't have self-control, and I hate to say that, but it's absolutely true. All right. I think that, sadly, these loot boxes have become a common practice. Oh, we'll sell you a game, but then we want an ongoing revenue stream, and we know that to get the best stuff in our game, you have to keep randomly buying a loot box and praying you get it, but there's no guarantee you'll ever get it. It's gambling. I don't agree with the loot box practice. I think loot boxes could be done properly if you were guaranteed maybe to get something, but in reality, just buy what you want. Have a marketplace where you can buy what you want, and there you go. Because loot boxes are the ultimate addictive gambling style revenue stream. And yes, I do actually agree with it being messed up. Now, all of a sudden, can we infinitely just put our foot down and say loot boxes are banned from all games? I don't think so. And these countries have taken that approach. I don't know how it's going to work. Gamers in those countries may be fucked. Oh, now you can't play any game with loot boxes. So immediately, how many games, right, that have loot boxes, you're screwed. You can't ever play them again. It sucks. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens moving forward. Will these be enforced? How is it going to go forward? But personally, I don't agree with loot boxes. I never did. BNIY cheered 100 bits. Thank you, BNIY, for the cheer. And Eternal Napalm cheered. So what are your thoughts on the teaser material for Death Stranding? Very Lovecraftian. Did you see the tentacle entities and the lightning flashes? No. In fact, what you're describing to me, Eternal Napalm, I never saw. The only stuff I saw for Death Stranding is what they've showed at E3, and that's it. So whatever you're telling, I haven't even seen it. I don't know, man. Listen, Kojima's going to do weird shit. People are going to play it. I'll play it. I mean, I'm down. His stuff is entertaining. And that's all I care about. I don't care how weird it is or wild it is. I'll give it a shot. All right, that's it, guys. Let's end the stream. Thank you very much for a fun episode of Ask the King. Right now, what I'm going to do is end the stream, upload these to the King 8 vlogs on YouTube. Thanks for your contributions, and I hope that you enjoyed the show. All right. Oh, Spawn Killer took me another $1 and asked why did I stop getting buzz cuts. I already explained this at the beginning of the show because I wanted to change my appearance when I got laid off from my full-time job and become a full-time YouTuber. I wanted to feel like a new part of my life was beginning, so I grew out my hair, I grew goatee, and the rest is history. That's it, guys. Thanks for Ask the King. Reminder, next episode of Ask the King, you can already post up questions for it on the kingofhate.com forum, so please do. If you pledge to my Patreon, one of the perk levels is to get your question answered for sure on the show. All right, so please consider it. Thanks, everyone, for a great Ask the King. See you next time. Peace out.